Crete had been a Roman province since the 1st century BC, and after the split of the Roman Empire in 395, the island of Crete came under the jurisdiction of the Byzantine Empire with its capital in Constantinople. In 827 to 8 AD, the Arabs got kicked out of Spain and they landed on Crete and conquered much of the island. In 961, the Byzantines came back and took over. They were all Muslims, but these were from Turkey rather than North Africa and the Middle East. 1240, after the siege of Constantinople by the Crusaders, the Byzantine Empire was dissolved. As its territories were shared out among the victors, Crete had been subjugated by the Genoese, and then Venice got it. And Crete remained under Venetian rule until 1669 when the Ottomans got it back. A good view of the harbor when the Venetians were here. We walked along this wall up to here yesterday, and then we walked back through town to our hotel way down here. This is a collection of coats of arms on Venetian Crete, just as in Venice and all the city-states Greek dominions. Social stratification was well demarcated. The highest social rank consisted of the Venetian nobles and the feudal lords, descendants of the old Venetian families who came to Crete 1200s. After a series of revolts, the aristocracy came to include Cretan nobles, but they also included some prominent Jewish families. Cretan nobility was subordinate to its Venetian counterpart, of course. Crete was very ethnically diverse, but the largest group of minorities were the Jews. They were merchants and financiers. This is a very nice fountain. This is the church of Saint Titus. He was a disciple of Saint Paul and the first bishop of Crete. And here's an altar from the temple. This room has a very nice display of ancient coins. Each circle has the coins in it, and then at the bottom it explains what they are. But they're up vertical and you can see them really well. There's a bunch displayed as they found it in the ground. These Byzantine coins are rather bowl-shaped. Maybe they stacked up easier that way. There's a whole bunch of them. I found these, bag and all, hidden somewhere. Early 1900, we do have paper money. There's a couple who are wearing their money. She's got quite a necklace, and he's got coins around his neck too. The vaulted ceiling in here, as well as the paintings, came from a church that was destroyed in World War II. So after the war, they picked up the pieces and brought them here. They have two paintings here by El Greco, known here also by his Greek name, Dominios Theokotopoulos. Here's the second one. Early 1800s, going forward to 1923, the locals said they had had enough of rule by the Turks. And there was rebellion that went on for years, and they finally prevailed. In 1923, the last Turks, the last Muslims, were forced to leave the island. Nikos Kazantzakis, the most famous author from Greece, He was born here in Cleon in 1883, studied law in Athens, and then started a literary career. So before he died, he bequeathed all his possessions to this museum, Historical Museum of Crete. And here is his library or study. And over here are many of the books that he wrote. Here's Zorba the Greek. Crete was invaded by the Axis powers in May 1941, being engaged in a brief yet fierce struggle that came to be known as the Battle of Crete. During the 4-year occupation of the island, Crete suffered great human and extensive material losses. So in 1941, the Germans decided to drop parachutes onto Crete, and it was a disaster, and Hitler said, "No more parachute drops." However, the Germans did take over, but in fighting them, since most of the military-age men were elsewhere fighting, they had cadets, gendarmes, reservists, civilians, men, women, everyone trying to defend the island, to no avail. And the Allies began to evacuate the island at the end of May 1941. Well, during World War II, a British captain with some local Crete people captured a German general. Here's the group that did it.
Does it show a picture of the German general?
Yep, he's right in the middle of this picture. Not looking too happy.
Not a happy camper.
Nice display here of World War II. And in another town on this island, there's an Allied War cemetery with about 1,500 graves. And in the 70s, they gathered up the remains of the Germans and have a cemetery for them. It's got about 4,500 graves. And I didn't realize that the final act of World War II, the surrender, was signed here on the 10th day of May in 1945. Emanuel Soudaras, I think, was the Prime Minister of Greece during at least part of World War II, and he also donated his materials to the museum here. And the man who works here was just saying what a great friend Roosevelt was to the Greeks. Some nice lace work here. There's the bobbins. When the Venetians were here, Crete was famous for its wine, one of the best being the Malvasia, better known in English as Malmsey. But viticulture eventually gave way to olive farming, and now the wine is coming back. So here's a nice Greek house. Interesting fireplace. With a fire there in the middle and a cooking pot on top and a table, and over here we have a loom. And here's some of the things that would have been made off a loom like this. And this area is the bedroom. To expand the one-room house we just saw, they would build a second story up above.